WWE Elimination Chamber 2025 is the best pay-per-view under Triple H so far. While I have been critical in the past about how he builds up stories, I think you can't argue that the WrestleMania season is definitely in full flow now, and everything that has been leading up in the last couple of months was deserved with a brilliant pay-per-view all around. Now, of course, everyone is mostly going to speak about the incredible John Cena heel turn where he's going to fight Cody in the main event of WrestleMania in the next coming months, which on its own is definitely a main event worthy match, which I necessarily weren't assured they were going to go in this direction in the first place. But with John Cena being the heel, it makes complete sense instead of trying to manipulate Cody into turning that other side. Not only that, the matches I think on Elimination Chamber as a whole were incredible. Of course, the tag match with the women was a bit of a filler match for Trish Stratus anyway, and it was fun. It wasn't exactly bad, it was just basically average. And the other matches I thought were insane. I think quite clearly it was the best women's Elimination Chamber match I think they've ever had. Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair deserve massive shout outs. What a shift that they put in. It was incredible. I thought Liv Morgan, that's the best she's ever looked, and that is really the caliber of wrestling she can do when given time. So I've got to applaud that there. I also loved obviously the segment at the end, and the men's Elimination Chamber match I thought worked really well with it going back and forth so much. And that Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn match was just incredible. Exactly what you want to see. Proper brutal destruction. I would have preferred Sami to win, but I'm not going to cry about it. And I think overall it was brilliant. Not only that, I think finally some of the arcs that we've seen over the last couple of months came to the forefront. Randy Orton returned to attack Kevin Owens, which probably sets up their WrestleMania match, which makes sense. Jade Cargill came back and attacked Naomi, putting Naomi out of the match, which we all saw kind of coming, which might be interesting to see how that works with Bianca. And then Bianca obviously winning, so that could potentially be a triple threat with Io if there's something happens tonight on Raw, or a 1-on-1 with Rhea, which I still think can be good enough to have that match, which we want. And all the times where Triple H has said WWE to change a lot within the pay-per-views, finally it seemed to happen. I will say Royal Rumble was probably a little bit disappointing overall, but now it seems like he left all the big hits for this Elimination Chamber, which is completely different to last year if you remember. Obviously that was in Australia, and it was still a brilliant event to see all the Australian fans get what they deserve, and obviously Rhea Ripley had that main event against Nia because she deserved it as the Australian champ. Now that wasn't exactly a star-studded cast, however, and no one really cared too much going into that year about really the outcomes. It made sense for Drew to win so he could go for the world heavyweight, which was kind of cool, but weren't really much on the line or weren't a lot that can happen. Now I think a lot of that is down to the build for this event. I have been critical in the past, but I think the build for this event specifically has actually been quite good. There have been so many different directions that they could go in and people they could win, and of course I would say probably Bianca and John were probably the favourites overall, but how we got there was the important thing. People thought other people were going to win potentially. Ultimately them two winning is not the worst decision in the world. It's an absolutely fine decision, and then it got made up with anyway of all the different things that they did, such as Randy returning. That's going to be a good match, and obviously that scene at the end. And obviously I know everyone's spoken about John Cena turning heel, and I think it is just so perfect. It's such a left field shout that you wouldn't have seen many people really expect was going to happen, considering it is his farewell tour. And I obviously don't know how long this has been planned for, but the more you actually listen to that press conference he did after the Royal Rumble, that does seem like a very heel press conference thing, like he deserves to be in that spot, which may have been the turn-in. Now people are going to criticize it, is whatever, but I think it is fun. And ultimately I think Rock coming in and adding that star-studded performance, I mean I'm not the biggest Rock fan in the world, but I think it just makes sense and it makes it all work out, and it almost makes you feel sorry for Cody. Cody is the biggest face in the company, and WWE inherently is a bit of a face heavy company right now. The two biggest heels you can really say in that sort of main event scene is probably Kevin Owens and Drew, and then maybe you could say Jacob Fatu as well, but they're not really necessarily always consistent. They get title shots because they're the only big heels really in the company, and of course we have spoken about how everyone is faces and they all hate each other anyway, like Seth and CM Punk and Roman, but I think they needed a big time heel person to come in and switch, and I don't think Cody being the champ as a heel would have made much sense, because in the future I don't mind it, but right now going into WrestleMania I don't think that's what you want to plan. He's been the face for a very long time, and I think we've had too long with heels being champions. Even Gunther's a heel champion the other side, so I think this is probably for the best anyway, to have a little bit of a different dynamic to the other world championship. Also John is amazing. Like I think in this Elimination Chamber he kind of put to bed any risks about ring rust. He was impressive in this result. I thought he was so good throughout the match. And I think all of them were, to be honest. CM Punk was exceptional. So was Seth. I can't wait to see what they cook up for WrestleMania. And the whole point of Elimination Chamber at the end of the day is to get you confidence for that WrestleMania, which a lot of us weren't feeding. I made a video about it and I said I weren't really feeding it right now, but I think that has completely changed with now the fact that we've got a fun new direction. And that is something I will say about the last couple of months with Triple H. He does do things that are more of a fantasy book and more fun and actually making it more interesting to watch. Cena being heel, Jey Uso winning and going against Gunther. I personally think that is interesting from a perspective that we always see the same couple of guys have the championship matches. Obviously some of them are great and some of them deserve it, like Kevin Owens for instance, but I do like to see a bit of variety, and I think we are really getting that right now with an incredible pay-per-view card. And also we just don't know what's going to happen. Is John Cena going to win? Is Cody going to actually come against Hate? You know, I don't know who's going to win the other CM Punk match. I don't know who's going to win most of the matches. I don't know who's going to win in the women's title matches in both of them. And WWE is really hot now, so even the criticism I had before was just minute things, because ultimately it has been a very good place to watch and very good thing to watch for a very long time under Triple H, which of course people are going to criticize him for, but I don't think it's really fair. Now overall, I'm probably going to do a video about Raw tomorrow when it's released, but let me know in the comments what you guys think, and like and subscribe for any more wrestling content. See you in the next one.